Hi everyone, this week is Parshas Lech Lecha, and we are introduced to Avram again, and God says to Avram, leave your father's home, leave your land, leave everything you're familiar with, and go to a land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation. I will make you a blessing for all. Those who bless you will be blessed, those who curse you will be cursed. Sounds great. Abraham ends up in Eretz Canaan, which is Eretz Yisrael, and God says, this is the land that I will give your children. That's us. But there's one problem. Now there's a famine in the land. So what does Avram do? Like any good father, any good husband, he goes where the food is, which is what? Egypt. And unfortunately, when he goes down to Egypt, Sarah is kidnapped. It's not a really good situation, but eventually Sarah is returned to him, and he makes his way back to Eretz Canaan. The Ramban, Rav Moshe ben Nachmanides, says that this was an inadvertent sin. He says, we don't whitewash our Jewish heroes. The Torah is truth, it's the seal, it's God's name, and therefore Avram made a mistake. He did an inadvertent sin. Those are very, very strong words. Why? He said Avram should not have left Eretz Canaan. He should have believed and trusted in Hashem, that Hashem would have provided him with the food and everything that he needed. And he didn't have to lie and say that Sarah was his sister so the Egyptians wouldn't kill him. He should have trusted in Hashem. So where is this great Avram that we talk about all the time? And so the Ramban says, listen, he made some mistakes. He had to figure it out on his own. Rav Hirsch has a little bit of a different idea. He says, I don't understand where the Ramban is coming up with this. Avram didn't have a role model to learn from. And therefore he had to learn these experiences on his own, just like any other person, especially in the spiritual realm. And so, according to Rav Hirsch, he says, this is just part of a growth spurt, a stage of growth. And therefore, he doesn't see it as a sin. As a matter of fact, he says, Avram should not rely. Where does he come up with this idea that Avram should rely on a miracle? We're taught not to rely on a miracle. So at one point, we have to ask ourselves, when do we rely on God, and when do we have to take matters into our own hands? And that's always very, very difficult. It could be that when you know you're doing everything you're supposed to do, then you rely on Hashem. And I would even say that we have role models in our life. Avram didn't have a role model. We could ask people, tell us, give us advice, let us learn from you, so that we can find our way and know at what point we do everything we can, and then we leave the rest up to Hashem. And I think that's the idea of Lech Lecha, right? Lech Lecha, Rav Hirsch says, means Lech, go, Lecha, to yourself. How do we find out about who we are? How do we discover our potential and our real us? Is through sometimes the failures, through life's challenges. And that's how Lech Lecha begins. And Avraham wasn't born Avraham, he was born Avraham. His name gets changed at the end of the parsha. Why? Because he's no longer Avram, but Avraham. He is the Av Hamon. He is now the father of all nations. That's the bell. I got to go to Mincha. If you like what you hear, please pass it on. Shabbat Shalom.